Hello, all. Thank you for joining the Human Libraries of Procurement podcast. We call it the Human Libraries of Procurement for three basic elements: the human connect, the libraries part, which is for knowledge and wisdom, and procurement because we talk about procurement. We have today Ashokk Menon, who is one such Human Libraries of Procurement. Ashokk, thank you for doing this. How are you doing today?
I'm good, sir. Thank you for having me.
And again, happy Ganesh Chaturthi.
To you too, sir, and to everybody that's out there celebrating Ganesh Chaturthi today.
Right. So we'll start with your career journey, Ashok, and
Sure.
then
So, just to give you a quick high-level overview, I've been in procurement for almost like 25 years now, across industry and consulting. I'd say 55 or 55% in industry, 45 in consulting. I've worked across large brands like Mondelez for a very long time, uh, Pack Group, the packaging manufacturer. Then I worked across consulting for companies like Infosys Portland. Spent some time working with companies like Carney, PCG, and then I've been an independent consultant myself, and I've been now on the journey pursuing entrepreneurship in procurement for the last 2 to 3 years. That's broadly my background. I've done. I'm an engineer by trade. I did my bachelor's in civil engineering, and I quickly jumped that for a supply chain degree, so a mass for an MBA in supply chain management. And that's when I actually that is in back in 2000, and that's when I actually got into this whole space. So I actually studied procurement and supply chain,
right.
and I got into procurement full time, and I haven't looked back. It's been an amazing journey, and I would recommend a lot of people actually pick up this profession and have a go at it.
Right. Lots of good experience there. Well done. And the best part is the studying of supply chain. I never studied supply chain, so I have huge respect for anybody who studies it and then does it.
It's interesting because most people fall into the profession.
Right.
I was lucky that I chanced upon a subject called supply chain strategy when I was doing my MBA as an elective, and then I just completely switched streams. I was thinking of doing something in marketing and finance, and I dumped marketing. I did a lot more finance subjects, more operation subjects, and then supply chain strategy. And my professor then, I think I should mention him, Graham Chocker. He was
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. Like he had a lot of real world experience that he used to walk us through, and that actually blew my mind as to how companies can actually improve profitability, be able to compete in the marketplace based on their entire supply chain. That was absolutely fascinating. Then you read books by I forget the gentleman's name. Talk about it later, but then yeah, I read books by like several people who are actually very futuristic in terms of what they thought about supply chain. Uh,
Right.
and they talked about supply chains competing against each other, companies being innovating, companies innovating on products and services in the market based on their entire ability to remodel or reevaluate their supply chain really very quickly using technology and whatever else. And that actually blew my mind. And that's when I said, okay, yeah, I have to get into this. And this is absolutely amazing, very interesting. Unfortunately, when I graduated, it was post 9/11. So
Mhm.
there weren't many jobs out there. And at the same
Right.
time, supply chain as a concept was not very, what do you say, popular.
Right.
People either called it purchasing or materials management or logistics,
Right.
and when you go for interviews, right? So I did my MBA in Australia. I went back to India, and I
Mhm.
used to go for interviews, and people used to ask me, "So why are you so hung up on supply chain strategy and why
Right.
why this?" I said it's absolutely fascinating to me. And there's so many things that you can do to actually improve company profitability, uh, drive better results for the company from a supply chain point of view, innovate on products, so on and so forth. Everything that I learned as theory. So I used to talk about it, and they used to think I was like this oddball where supply chain strategy, supply chain management wasn't popular in the country.
Right.
No one actually talked about it. So they just thought I was a bit weird. So yeah, but I stuck to my guns, and I ended up finding a job almost like 6 months later after graduating in the supply chain space, and then I've not looked back since.
Right. Before we move on with the discussion, I have two disclaimers to say. So those two heavy minutes from my side. One is that we are not representing any company here. And, for such a big experience, there might be some names that would come out, but we are not representing any company as such. And the other one is that if anyone has any question, please put them on the chat. I would be very happy to read it out, and then Ashok can answer accordingly. I think the reading part, I can see a lot of books there. It comes naturally to you that you read a lot.
Yes, I've been always very curious when it comes to, knowledge, and now AI and perplexity have made things much more easier. So you can come up with hypotheses and you just test it out and see what is out there. I read a lot, and my interest is across, very divergent, I would say. I read pretty much anything and everything.
Right.
So that's what keeps me interested. Anything from religion to philosophy, through to business, through to self-help books. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that library looks nice. I could have explored it there.
That's my daughter's job. She's actually color coordinated the setup. Apart from
Yeah. I think we will start with you being an entrepreneur. I think we'll start with that point. And procurement entrepreneur. Tell us, in these times, how is entrepreneurship? Is it easy, hard? How do you see it?
I think probably I'll get into why I got into entrepreneurship, and then touch upon how I see it and how challenging or easy it is. So I think fundamentally it's like in my family, my father was an entrepreneur, and he encouraged us to not go and work for somebody. But both my brother and I thought differently, because we thought that we needed to actually go and work somewhere and try and understand how organizations work before we go and start and do something of our own. My brother got into entrepreneurship much earlier than I did, almost like 10 years before I started. And I started to pursue entrepreneurship once I realized that there's always going to be a ceiling in terms of what I wanted to do and achieve, because you're always constrained by what the organization wants to do, the hierarchy, at the same time, the organizational construct, and the career ladder, right? Because typically, and the way I've kind of fashioned my career is that I've gone very broad in terms of trying to build my skill sets. Instead of trying to climb up the ladder, I could have done that. I could have tried to become a CPO somewhere, or a partner in a consulting firm. But I thought that was probably going in and fulfilling the corporate agenda that someone else has set. My agenda is very different, in the sense that I don't like the whole idea of being constrained by organizations and the hierarchy and the organizational construct. For me, if I have to drive change and do something different, I have to step outside of that construct to do it. And hence me pursuing entrepreneurship, because I think there is a lot of opportunity within the procurement space, the supply chain space, to do better, to do differently. At the same time, there is opportunity for organizations to benefit from this kind of thinking, right? Because you still, if you think of it this way, right? AI happened last year before,
Mhm.
and things have started to change in terms of the way organizations are thinking about things. COVID happened, the organizations started to change the way they started to think about procurement and supply chain and everything else.
Right.
So there are all these disruptions will keep happening, and therefore the organizations have to react differently. So therefore, uh, there is opportunity to do things
Yeah.
differently, and that forces the organization to change the way they think. Which, if there was an internal perspective, so variables were constant. There was no
Right.
COVID, there was no AI. They would continue the way they would continue, and there would still be opportunity to do something differently, right? So
Yeah.
what the good thing about AI and COVID what it has done is force people to start to think differently. And also in terms of being an entrepreneur these days, it's not. I think if you're clear about your vision and what you want to achieve, the path opens up much faster. Sometimes it's a lot more, what do you say, trying to figure out the product market fit. That's one. And then trying to
Right.
find the client who would be open to taking on
Right.
something, a different perspective, because most people don't like change, and they
Right.
like to be safe, and they like to be risk averse. But the good thing is that with AI coming in, people are now wanting to be part of that bandwagon. As a
Yeah.
result, there's a lot more opportunity to do something.
Talking about the corporate ladder and all, but I think
Yeah.
that's the best combination. You're working for yourself and you're doing something that you like, you know. So that's a very good combination there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. It's something that I'm passionate about, right? So if
Mhm.
I wasn't passionate about, and if I did not have, what do you say, the experience to back me in what I'm trying to do, because if I didn't have the experience, if I'm working in a market or a product or a service segment which I have zero experience in and trying to do something, I would struggle. But this is like my sweet spot, and
Mhm.
at the same time, I know what is required from a customer point of view. It's about educating people and trying to get it across the line.
Right. Uh, we have some interesting topics to go into, but before I do that, I have two comments here. One is from Alex. He says Dr. Martin Christopher talked about a lot about supply chain and not companies competing back in 90s. And one more comment from Harold. Harold says entrepreneurship is the key for procurement. It drives innovation, new ideas, strategies to solve problem, and creates more added value. So those are two comments there. Uh,
Yeah.
we'll start with spend analysis for procurement and
Sure.
how spend analysis and reports, spend reports can help. Yes, better. Please.
Yeah. So when it comes to spend analysis in procurement, it's like it's table stakes. It's like it's basic stuff required to do your job.
Mhm.
So if it's like a household, right? There's money coming in and then there's money going out. If you have to save any money, you have to make sure that what's coming in should be higher than what's going out.
Right.
Very basic, and that's fundamental. And if you don't know where the money is going, then you have a huge problem. So from a spend analysis point of view, understanding what you're spending money on, how much are you paying, how often are you paying, is it really required, what can you do different with that spend, understanding those reports, understanding your categories, understanding how each category influences your P&L, which stakeholder is driving it. All of these things are just basic things that we need to have in place. It's interesting that you bring up this question, because uh, I've I've been working in procurement 25 years, and I've seen companies. So India experience versus my experience now, there are still companies that are still way behind. I'd say 20
Right.
years behind time, right? And still no spend data. They talk about AI, but they still don't
Right.
have spend. They don't have a landing in terms of what contracts they have, right? They spend
Yep.
$300-400 million, $500 million, still no clue. So basic stuff that's required, and it's good hygiene to actually look at what you spend money on and understand, what's driving your P&L.
Yep. There are companies which don't have contracts as well. And maybe a paper contract that is lying somewhere and not even uploaded. But those are
Yeah.
scenarios that are quite real. We can talk about categories also. Which are the categories that you have supported?
Man, quite a few, I would say. But you pick. I know marketing is your pet category, so we can talk marketing if you want to talk marketing.
Yes, marketing. I think that is my favorite one. So tell me what do you like about marketing procurement? Is there anything that you like?
I don't I've heard different stories from different people. So some people don't like marketing because they find it very difficult to deal with the marketing folk. Some
Right.
people find the technicalities of marketing difficult to understand because it's not like direct materials. Uh, so I think it depends upon the individual. But I always found marketing to be fascinating because when you think about it, right, it's like these guys, the marketeers are actually trying to figure out, and now being an entrepreneur, I appreciate it even more, is that you're trying to figure out whether the product will resonate with the audience or the consumer. How do you actually
Right.
go about promoting the product? What kind of messages or what kind of messaging do you need to have for that particular product? And then there's a whole amount of research, focus groups, testing, media, creative agency work, market research work that is done to figure out whether the product that they're looking to launch or the variant that they're looking to launch will do well or not, or do we just kill it? So trying to enable that is a fascinating, what do you say, angle, right? From a procurement point of view, it's like that you're helping these people with that. And
Right.
very few people actually look at it from that perspective, because all you're thinking is supplier spend and savings, and that's the perspective that we have. So when you start to put yourself into the marketing person's shoes, you start to see things differently. And then for us, it's about enabling that activity so that they can get the best bang for their buck. So just to give you an example, is like when I'm category manager for marketing, and I used to work with a marketing team. There were about like 20 odd people, 20-25 maybe. There were two marketing directors across the confectionery and the beverage business. And both the directors were very happy about the fact that there was somebody from procurement supporting them.
Right.
And what used to happen is that because you have a big team, there's so many suppliers that you work with, it's difficult to trying to get some sort of governance in place, because every brand manager is focused on their own project and their own brand, right? So
Right.
trying to look at it holistically across the board, across the entire marketing silo, so to say, and help them to identify which relationships are making sense or not. At the same time, they've been all given a defined budget, and you would know how FMCG works. Is like it's generally you given a budget, margins typically are low margin. You don't make as much margin as you would, and companies are always looking at slashing budgets. Now, if you look at
Right.
it from a marketing director's point of view, they want to be able to do more with what they have. If they've been given $100 today, tomorrow their budget has been slashed to $95 for the next financial year, and it just keeps going lower. So they have to still do $120 worth of output
Right.
with $95. So how do you enable that?
Right.
So those were the kind of problems I was solving for initially. But as we progressed, they start to call you for different things. Can you just run a negotiation training session for our people?
Right.
And can you help us with this deal that we're trying to do with this customer? And
Right.
they're coming back to us with these arguments. Can you help us with that? So it went from a marketing focus, from a procurement focus, to a little bit more strategic conversations with them.
Right.
So it depends, right? When they want to involve you, what they see your strength at, how comfortable are they with you. So I really enjoyed working with marketing. It's tough initially to get that way in. Once you
Right.
drive that wedge, and then you're able to and you show some level of success, they're happy to engage and get you to do more.
Right. Now, first of all, you don't get that engagement. You work hard to get that engagement. But once you get that engagement and they're involving you in certain other things, right? Procurement doesn't have the time. We are busy firefighting things. So once we put off one fire, we are ready for the other one. So when they engage you for those strategic things, or like you said, how do you manage this? I mean, how do you find the time? Because procurement doesn't have time.
I think it comes down to the individual and the narrative that you're playing into. Because it's like, the way I see it, with pretty much anybody that I would be working with, is that they're my customer.
Right.
My customer needs help, so I should help them. It's my duty to help my customer. So whether it is, put it this way, it's like sometimes as a consultant, work is paid. Sometimes they ask you for a favor. They ask you for advice.
Right.
So they're a customer, right? It depends on how much are you going to sit and do for them. And then you can decide what is the level of engagement that you need to have with them, or how much effort you need to put into that. But then, it doesn't stop you from engaging. It's like, I think, I don't know if you follow Sadhguru.
I know him.
Sadhguru, right? So, and I'm not sure if the audience knows, or probably the audience already knows. You can Google Sadhguru. So he says this thing. He says, I am responsible. So I am responsible for my actions. And he defines responsible as your ability to respond.
Right.
Right? So you can choose how you want to respond. You respond like go whole hog, or you want to go partly, up to you. But you're able to, you have the ability to respond, and you choose how you want to engage.
Right. Now, I was also thinking about that angle, that procurement, when we are talking about trackers and, how many requests have you processed in a day or something like that, this explanation becomes a very important thing. Like, how do you justify your, some other work to your bosses or their bosses or the CPO or what?
Right. So let me just build on what I said to you earlier, is that after the work that I did with these the team, when you get acknowledgement at the C-suite, and your boss hears about it, and your boss's boss in the regional office hears about it,
right,
I think there is no argument as to why you shouldn't do, because it's like your customer is engaged.
right.
So I think that's I don't think that then not having time becomes an argument. It's like or prioritization becomes an argument. It's like, because at the end of the day, if the CPO is hearing good things about the work that the CPO's team is doing, why wouldn't they want to prioritize it?
Yeah, I think that is a very good way of seeing it, because in the days of tracker and all that, it doesn't help, right? The tracker will not save anyone. We'll expand a little bit more on that. What values can procurement bring?
One of my friends, he said this. He's the head of procurement. He said, procurement, the reason why people hire you, you leave aside the fact that you have you're working for a function called procurement.
Right.
Okay. And he said, the reason why anybody hires anybody in an organization is because they see value in what you do, or they see value in you. Yeah. So you happen to be in a function called procurement, and then therefore there is value expected out of you as part of the function. But that doesn't stop you from adding value anywhere else, because it's up to you as an individual how you want to add value. Okay. So then when you start to think in terms of procurement adding value, there are different ways to do it. You think of it from a company metric point of view. You can look at it from a revenue generation point of view. So in essence, you're working on new product development. I'm just trying to give
Right.
you concrete examples, but the opportunities are endless. So you look at new product development, that is something that you would work on. You would look at developing revenue streams for the company, working with your suppliers, which could be either working on new product development, or it could be contract deals, or whatever it is that you can do to try and drive revenue through to your company. You can look at things around innovation, how you tap innovation external to the organization and bring it internally. You can do things around like research partnerships and so on and so forth. That's the top line growth. Then you look at it from a bottom line improvement point of view. Obvious people talk about is cost savings. So cost savings,
Right.
you can do different things, pull different levers, drive costs, run sourcing events, look at SRM initiatives, look at optimizing processes within the organization, working with suppliers. There's so many things.
I just wanted that point wise. I have a comment from Alex. He says everything we do needs the basics right first. And then I have another comment from Seema. Seema says spend analysis is often highlighted as a way for procurement team to make more informed decisions. In your view, how can organization implement spend analysis effectively across different categories to generate real value? Craglake as well. It gives you that quadrants as to where the supplier lies based on the spend and the complexity. So that's one starting point. It also helps in identifying maverick spend for starting. Just giving an
Yes,
idea.
yes. So all those. So once you start to get into spend analytics and then your category strategies, all these things start to reveal themselves, depending upon what kind of hypotheses you would have for each of these areas. The beauty of category strategy, I think, is more from a point of view of how you use that to engage with the business. Because
Right.
a lot of the time, what I've seen is that the business has never seen something like this before. And therefore, to bring your business, one step closer to working with procurement, when you start to play all of this back to them and show them, okay, this is where you're at, this is what the spend looks like, these are the categories, these are the suppliers, these we have contracts with, these we don't have contracts. When you start to play back all of those insights, that's when they just go like, they have these oh shit moments, and they just go, oh, we didn't know that.
Right.
Or they'll go like, yeah, we knew, but we didn't manage it. So, all of these things start to become more obvious, and that then helps to have that, when you get to have that conversation with them about it. Because it's like one thing I'd say this, and a lot of people may not agree with me. I think it's down to us whether we like the stakeholder or not, whether they want to engage with us or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's our job to try.
Right.
They may give us the right, they may not give us the right. It doesn't matter.
It comes to you after a certain point, I think. Somebody who is starting would always want certain leverage or
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
liking.
It's like I'll just add to that point. I think people
Right.
always say that I need permission. You don't need permission.
Yeah.
The permission is
Right.
somebody else's construct. So you
Right.
have permission to do, like I said earlier, what you're responsible, you have the ability to respond. So you don't
Right.
always need permission. You just need to gauge whether people are going to be receptive to it or not. And there are ways to doing that.
Right. And we circle back to that control mechanism. Procurement started as a control mechanism thing. And I think more often than not, we get back to that control mechanism for no good reason. I have one more question here from Linda, but before that, I'll take the comment from Christina. Christina says, analytical mindset is the key for reporting and spend analysis, which is fair. And Linda says, how do you develop revenues with the suppliers?
I think we touched upon that, right? We talked about
Right.
new product development,
Yeah.
kept working with the suppliers to do contra deals, trying to look at how do you improve uh, the current product that is there, how do you improve the channel that is used to market the product or sell the product. Lots of things to do.
Right. And just taking one more comment from Seema. Seema says, category strategy, yes, that helps. However, as we were discussing here, procurement teams are firefighters. Do they really have time for this, or should we have a dedicated team with a system-driven support to get this realistic? Can this be automated, or you have a different team for spend analysis? A lot of companies do have different teams for spend analysis.
Yeah, it depends upon the size of the team, or size of the organization, size of the spend. The other day, I saw a post somewhere where somebody said that they looked at $60 million worth of spend and they had an AI do it, and results came in 48 hours. And I'm just thinking to myself that one person could have done it themselves. And it's not a very long spreadsheet. So I'm just thinking to myself, yes, you can do it yourself. You can have a team to do it. It depends upon the organization, depending upon what your priorities are. Sometimes I think you don't need to do any category management. Depending upon the organization, you don't need to spend time, because by the time you developed your strategy, your stakeholders have moved on. So why spend time doing that in the first place? If you don't have engagement with your stakeholder, that is one way to go about getting engagement,
Right.
and showing them what the risks are. But then, yeah, it depends.
Right. So this is one thing that I keep saying. If you have 4 suppliers and you have AI recommending you, for a $2 million contract or something, chances are that AI would be correct for 25% at least, whichever supplier it picks. But are you going to risk it? Are you going to risk $2 million on AI's recommendation? You cannot do it for even humans. If I recommend you something for $2 million, will you go with my decision blindly? Shouldn't be, right?
I think there's a very good podcast. Just trying to think of the name of the person. So where they say that AI is not there yet, where it can actually firstly give you a comprehensive evaluation. Secondly, it can predict what an outcome
Right.
can be, because it just reads the past and comes up with hypotheses around 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
So therefore, I think it's not there yet. It's a big risk to keep your brain to the side and let AI decide for you. I wouldn't do that. I don't recommend people do that, because ultimately, end of the day, the way I see this progressing is that I don't know if in maybe early 2010, 12, maybe there's an article in the Harvard Business Review called "The Rise of the Super Temps." Okay, and in that, so this is 2012, right? 2025 right now. So in 2012, they said that in Rise of Super Temps, they were basically talking about individuals like lawyers, consultants, scientists, so on and so forth, all doing work by themselves or working for themselves because they're tired of the organization construct, and then working on projects that they want to work on, and then potentially getting paid more. Now, with AI coming into play, that is going to become more of a reality. It is a reality. What they said then about Rise of Super 10 is a reality now, but then now it's going to be more of a reality. And it's basically like, you know how you have remember these transformers, right?
Right.
As in not electrical transformers, but those the movies
Cars.
transformers.
Right.
So where you have individuals running these huge machines sitting in that one cabin, and that's basically what's going to be for people, because you're going to be using AI, building your own agents, because a lot of people are building their own agents right now. for their own
Right.
personal use or for their organization use. And yeah, that's how it's going to progress. But then the underlying machine learning algorithms and everything else, they're not there yet.
Yes.
So, so take for example, if you talk to people in consulting, they'll say between 25 to 40% of their research and their hypotheses development will be AI done,
Right.
which is, but then you have to sit and prove it, right? So therefore, the proving is where the value is going to be. So take that information. It's probably uh, 30 to 50% correct, and use what you have in your head and those of others around you to validate that.
Category, because I had one
Yeah.
question that I left out about the agency family tree.
So holding companies, right? So typically you're talking like say a WPP or all of these
Right.
similar holding companies, and
Right.
they'll have like multiple media agencies, creative agencies, digital agencies, so on and so forth. It's like I remember seeing one diagram from somebody that worked at WPP, and what that basically showed us is that they had this. They just kept on acquiring different
Right.
companies within different niches, especially the ones that were either very unique in terms of their offering or the intellectual property that they had, or they had dominated a particular niche really very well. And as a result, that became like a USP for companies, and therefore they start to acquire. So what happens is that over time they keep buying a lot of these companies and either bringing it into reorganizing them into different company structures, but at the
Right.
same time they start to dominate the agency landscape or the marketing spend landscape, because then they're able to capture more of the company's marketing customers marketing dollars, right, in different so basically it's like they keep talking about the house of brands and the branded house logic.
Right.
So, right,
Yeah.
so that's how they actually play it. So they have a house of brands and then they have a branded house at the same time.
Right. Yes.
So, and also then be able to understand, like, get more insights from a company and a market point of view to be able to fuel their other investments and other businesses globally. So it's absolutely fascinating as to how they work and how they've actually also survived over time.
Right. And it is also fascinating. They acquire a lot of small companies. And sometimes you are actually putting two people in an RFP who are from the same holding companies.
And,
Right.
yeah.
So you think that there is an element of choice or whatever. Actually, there is none. And that is where I think procurement needs to know this agency family tree, so that you know who is associated with whom.
Yeah, I think just to build on your point, and I think it's especially true for multinationals that have a good they have a diverse geographic presence. At the same time, for them, it's about having brand consistency across the board. That's one argument that is typically used by a lot of these companies. But I would tend to challenge that as well, because it's like, who controls the brand consistency? I think the brand manager does that. You just hand over the activity to somebody to manage it. But yeah, if we have to do global brands, same consistency across the board, the question then is like, how important is that also?
Right. I have a thing about marketing and procurement. Marketing is the last department to get budget, right? And procurement is after that. So procurement is even after marketing that we get budget, especially for any training or anything relevant as well. I was trained on negotiation by my seniors, and so on and so forth. Tell us as to how can procurement get more budget for training, and why are we ignored in the first place?
Okay, it's a very good question. It's a interesting challenge when I'm trying to convince people to spend money on training and development for themselves. So I think I'll answer that question by saying this. It's like when companies or execs are looking at it, right? They're thinking from the context of where they're operating and what's going to give them the better bang for the buck. So for example, it's like there is revenue side and there is cost side. Okay, there are two sides of the coin. So revenue side is sales, then there is cost side is procurement, operations, and everybody else. And they will bucket sales and marketing in a similar, they look at it similarly, and everything else is a support function. So when you look at it from a revenue point of view, if the company is not making money, there is no revenue coming in, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Is training a solution? If they think is strongly if training is a solution, then they will put money into training. If there is no revenue coming in, there is very little to manage from a cost side of things. At best, you have to cut cost.
Right.
Okay. So that becomes a straightforward equation for them. So when you start to look at it from a cost side, so if the revenue starts to go up and the costs are also going up, then the margin is hit, right? So then they have to think in terms of, okay, now I have to do something around the cost side of things to reduce it. So very rarely they will think about training. They rather think about, I'll put money into consultants, cut it down.
Right.
Or
and it goes
training.
downhill.
Yeah, and it goes downhill.
Right.
It depends, right? I would say I will not what do you say, throw my consulting friends under the bus, but I will say that it depends upon the kind of people that you get and kind of consulting firms that you get. Because when there is no tangible ROI to be seen through training, if you ask me, nobody's got a metric that says that I spent so much money, I got X return on training. I've not seen up till now. Okay, I've done my research. My research tells me that nobody can put a number on it. Second way to look at it also is people expect that companies will spend money on training.
Right.
And my argument to people is that you would put money into your education. Yes, you would put money into going for a degree. If you are given a choice, you say, okay, hey, why don't you do a master's in AI and analytics?
Right.
This and you're stuck. So take for example, you're assume a context where, and this is a common context where people are stuck in their roles and they're not finding a way out or finding something different to do or get a better job or get a better salary. The natural way to think is that's what people do. I'll do a master's degree somewhere and maybe I'll get something. They'll plonk, say, a $20,000, depending on a degree, do it for 3 years. The time is passing, your salary has not gone up.
Right.
Whereas if you were to invest $1,000 or $2,000 in your own self,
right,
because you're spending money on your degree any which ways, and you spend that much money, you get unlocked so quickly, as in the unlocks in terms of your career, whatever your challenges are, and you move to your next level. Organizations are not always going to fund your growth unless there is something for them. That's the reality, right?
Right.
So you have to back yourself, is what I would say.
Right. And as a coach, what are the skill sets that you think procurement needs?
Okay, so I just think so with people, right? I'd say going forward, if you say in the age of AI and going forward, right? And I think one of the questions that when we had connected, you had asked, can people do any category and can they just keep switching around categories and everything? So I think one thing I will say here is that focus on high learning agility. Like I think 3 to 5, I think there'll be 5. Say, focus on high learning agility. So learning quickly, grasping concepts quickly, and being able to ramp up really fast. Okay, that's number one. The second thing would be around your ability to relate to people, situations, circumstances around you. This is your ability to relate. So relational ability would be another one, so that you understand the dynamics of your context and the people around you. Then the next one would be around how you leverage AI. It's like, how do you actually use it to accelerate, do stuff fast, or or slow down processes depending upon what your situation is like. Then I think the fourth one would be around um, your ability to see first order, second order, third order, fourth order consequences of your decisions.
Right.
Right. So I do X, that has an
Mhm.
impact Y, then that has a flow on impact of Z, then has a flow on impact of Z plus one, Z plus two. So be able to see how your decisions and the way you actually think or do has an impact down the line, right?
Right.
That's one. And I think
Yep.
last one is being able to execute.
Right.
It's good theory, all of this.
Yeah.
If you can't make the rubber hit the road and deliver, that's zero credits within the organization. So these are the five things I would say people need to focus on.
And going by the same topic, I could find two companies for you in LinkedIn. One is that
Mhm.
procurement project, and the other one is procurement superheroes. Would you
Yeah,
like to talk anything about your companies?
sure. Both are in a startup stage. So the first one, that procurement project, is all about agile, people first, and AI supported execution.
Mhm.
That's basically consulting done differently. The second one is procurement superheroes, which is around developing capability within procurement folk. Basically being able to help them to accelerate their careers, not have to take 10 years to get to a certain point, do it in half the time or less. Uh, and that has been going on for a while now. So I got interested in developing people way back in 2000, say 2010 maybe.
Mhm.
And since then, I've been actively involved in like supporting people, coaching people through their careers. So people have gone from university graduate to say head of procurement, partner in a consulting firm. People have gone from university graduate to procurement manager, category manager. People have gone and delivered savings in their projects, so on and so forth, like active coaching and mentoring. So that's happened. So it's a proven approach and it works. And I have case studies that demonstrate that. So yeah, so that's procurement superheroes, and that's a passion project, more about helping people to do better, faster, and being able to then help other people to do the same thing. So that's procurement
Good
superheroes.
luck with those.
Thanks,
Uh,
man.
yes. You touched on the negotiation part, that somebody be a better negotiator. How to negotiate? It's a simple
Uh,
question with many layers
it's
to it.
a loaded question. It's loaded multi-layer question. So I'll just touch upon a single layer. I think there is lots of theory outside on it.
Mhm.
Uh, that people have been trained on, coached on. I've seen the same uh, training material in different countries with different providers. So it's the
Right.
same thing that people teach. There are some that are like very unique in terms of how they teach you how to manage the relational aspect of it. And to me, it's like, yes, you can do all of your prep and have your BATNA defined and have your you know your numbers and you know your facts and you know your market and you can play the market. Those are easy games.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if you have a fragmented market and you're trying to play multiple suppliers to try and get to a point, very easy. Say, take for example, you're working with a monopoly, you're backed into a corner, your results are bad, and then you have to try and get to a negotiated outcome. Is a challenge. Those are like, and those kind of situations require you to start to think very laterally, out of the box, and also help teach you how to influence people very differently.
Right.
And I think that is the people aspect and how you play on people, the logic, the emotion, their aspirations, your aspirations, aspirations of people around you. I think those are some of the things that I think if people want to become good negotiators, I think focus on that. I think the whole piece of work that Chris Voss has done around tactical empathy,
Right.
it's beautiful. There's a lot to learn from that. But I think end of the day, it comes back to how you implement it and execute it and what you learn out
Yes.
of that. The game is facts and everything very easy. I'm pretty sure lots of people have done several of these negotiations. It's like the other option, other angle is, what do you do when a person does not want to negotiate with you? I don't want to talk to you. Now what are you going to do? You have to
Right.
close something, but people don't want to talk to you. Now what do you do?
Right.
How do you get them to the conversation? So all these things are like difficult scenarios, right? So I think the people side of things is the key to unlocking good outcomes. And if I would say spend 80% of your time on that.
Once happened that there was a CEO and there was the CFO in that negotiation, and the CFO told me, I don't want to talk to you, and the CEO said, no, you cannot say that to him. And I was like, okay, this is good cop, bad cop theory, right? So I'm like, okay, this is where it is going. And these are certain dynamics that you need to see in people as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Must have been a challenging situation, no? It's like
Right.
both are senior execs
Right.
saying different things to you, and you're just going like, so how do I navigate this?
And that's the thing. I mean, now it is easy when I'm saying it. But when somebody just upright tells you, and that to a CFO of XX reasons, right? It is difficult to come back or something like that.
So
And then you have the CEO who is the friend. He's like, no, you cannot tell that to him. He's from procurement. You should not be telling him that.
That's his job. Anyway. He's like that. Yeah. Interesting. So I'm curious. What did you do? What did you say?
So it took me a while to figure this out, that this was a bad cop, good cop thing. They were playing with me, and the first one just went on like that. The first round was just like that. That the CEO was like extra good to me, and the CFO was very rude to me. And we were just talking about, okay, what can we do and what not, kind of that. And then once the call got over, it struck me that no, they are both in the same team. It's not like. But yeah, it's not about me. I'm talking too much, I guess.
All good. I think it's very important people hear. Yeah.
Right. I have two questions here, two comments. One is from Harold. He says, only actions deliver result. So we're talking about that execution part. And then Harold says, what is your view on procurement communities like the Alchemy Network for Procurement and Supply Chain Professionals?
I think there is a lot of value in communities and social media. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. So we are all children, man. we all need support and help. So therefore, having a community is very useful and very worthwhile. And I think, and I had heard about the Alchemy Network not until you said to me like, hey, why don't you get onto a podcast? And I'm like, okay, cool.
One more question. I think we are just over the time now. But one more question. Any fresher? We talked about a lot of experience here. And a lot of these things are, with experience, people should take it. Any fresher or somebody who is just starting, if they are considering procurement, how would you say procurement as a career to them?
Okay. So how I see procurement is that one function that connects the internal world or the organization to the external and brings the external world into the internal, right? So this is like this umbilical cord kind of thing. There is connecting two ecosystems. So, and there is a lot of value in doing that. And unfortunately, people think of it as a transactional, non-strategic function, but there is a lot of strategy in making that connection happen.
Right.
And there is a lot of benefit to the organization and to the external environment, to yourself, the communities that you're part of. They can benefit a lot. So that's one angle. The second angle is that if you want to learn business,
Right.
and how industries work, procurement is the best place, because every category, depending upon how clued in and how interested you are, you can learn about different industries really very quickly. If you're
Right.
thinking that, okay, I need to find that industry where I'll be very happy working and spending the rest of my life in, you can find that in procurement, because every organization, and the best example I would say is, based on my experience, FMCG, you pretty much, I call it the mother of all procurement, because you get to work on commodities, you get to work on packaging, you get to work on marketing, you get to work on IT, you get to set up factories, you get to do capex, you get to do logistics, you get to do HR, you get to do legal, you get to do consulting. Pick, so you get buy milk, dairy, like milk, cocoa, so many things, right? So, and you understand how things get played at a global stage and as well as locally. So that's the best place to learn and excel. Like you get exposure to multiple industries, and a good category manager. And this, I'll just quote somebody who said this to me once, and it was his perspective as to what a good category manager should be, is that you should be able to build up the P&L of your supplier and be able to come to as close as possible around their margins and SG&A and everything else, cost of goods margin. So that's how good you are in an industry, in a category. So that's what I would say, is that it's a fantastic place. You become the connector, connect two worlds. At the same time, you get to learn about different industries. It makes you a better commercial person, because it's all about commerciality, and you can move to general management roles having spent some time in procurement, because if you start to move into different roles, then you get a better understanding of how the other parts of the business work. And then when you get into a commercial role, like a sales role or a general management role, when you're running a business unit, you understand how the P&L works, and you're more commercial in your thinking. That's what I said.
Recommend anything here, but I think that should be a good recommendation for anyone who is just starting. I don't have any more questions. Just one comment from Harold. He says, "It takes a village to raise a child." Always true. And this episode is recorded and it would be available on Alchemy Live. Also, it would be edited and I'll put it on my YouTube channel. So that's
Awesome.
That's where it's going next. Before we end, is there anything else that you would like to add or say?
No, I think this has been a fantastic conversation, Supratim. Thank you to all the people that have taken time to attend today and those that will watch. And thank you, Alex. Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Seema. And I can't see everybody else's name, but thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for hosting me.
Right. Thank you as well for your time. It was a very nice session. Lots of knowledge there, lots of experience there. I hope people listen to this and they get some knowledge out of it and it is interesting to them. Thank you again for your time. And thank you all for joining. Have a nice day then. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Bye. See ya.
If you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel.